Hi everyone, and welcome to Life Story 999. Today, we have a heartwarming story that proves that even the smallest acts of kindness can change lives in the most amazing ways. Stick around, because this story is going to inspire you in ways you won't expect. And remember, we'd love to hear your own experiences. Share them in the comments or send us an email. What would you do if you found yourself in this situation? Our story begins with Sam, a hardworking taxi driver. Life hadn't been easy for Sam lately. He had been struggling to make ends meet, working long, exhausting hours in his cab just to keep food on the table for his family. But no matter how tough things got, Sam always tried to keep a positive outlook. He believed that kindness could make the world a better place, even if it was just in small ways. One chilly evening, as Sam was finishing another long shift, he noticed a woman standing on the side of the road. Her face was streaked with tears, and she was holding a small child close to her. They looked so vulnerable, as if the weight of the world was pressing down on them. Sam's heart went out to her. He knew he couldn't just drive past. Without a second thought, Sam pulled over and rolled down his window. "Do you need a ride?" he asked gently. The woman nodded, barely able to get a word out. As they drove, Sam couldn't help but feel the sadness radiating from her. She stared out the window, lost in her thoughts, her eyes filled with exhaustion and pain. When they finally reached their destination, the woman tried to pay, but Sam refused. He knew she needed a break, just a small moment of kindness in what seemed like an incredibly difficult time. "It's on me," he said softly. The woman looked at him, her eyes welling up again, and whispered a heartfelt "thank you." Sam simply nodded, wished her well, and drove away, completely unaware that this simple act of kindness was about to change his life forever. Later that night, as Sam lay in bed, he couldn't shake the image of the woman and her child. He kept replaying the moment in his head, the sadness in her eyes, the way she clutched her little one for comfort. It wasn't like him to refuse payment, especially when every dollar mattered so much. But there was something about her that had touched his heart, something that made him feel like she needed that small kindness more than he needed the fare. He wondered what had led her to that point. What kind of hardships had she faced that left her standing in the cold with nowhere to turn? Sam knew he might never get the answers, but he hoped that his small gesture had made her day just a little bit easier. As the night wore on, sleep began to take over, and his eyelids grew heavy. Just as he was drifting off, the shrill ring of his phone cut through the quiet of the room, startling him awake. Sam frowned, glancing at the clock. It was past midnight. It was unusual for him to get a call so late, and for a moment he hesitated, his mind racing with possibilities. But something urged him to answer, a gut feeling that he couldn't ignore. "Hello?" Sam said, his voice still groggy. On the other end of the line was a voice he didn't recognize, calm, yet filled with a sense of urgency. "Are you Sam, the taxi driver?" the voice asked. Confused, Sam confirmed that he was. The caller explained that he was reaching out on behalf of the woman Sam had driven earlier that evening. Sam's heart skipped a beat. Had something happened to her? He sat up, suddenly wide awake, as worry crept in. "She's safe," the man reassured him, sensing Sam's concern. "But there's something important we need to discuss. She told us about your kindness, and it's something we won't forget." Sam's curiosity was piqued. What could this be about? He couldn't have imagined that one small act of kindness would lead to this late-night call that was about to change everything. The voice on the phone continued, filling Sam in on the details. The woman he had helped was from a very wealthy family, one with deep roots and influence in the community. But life had not been easy for her. She had become estranged from her family years ago, after a devastating personal tragedy that left her struggling to rebuild her life. That night, when Sam found her on the side of the road, she had reached her breaking point. She felt completely lost, and the weight of her burdens had become too much to bear. "You showed her kindness when she needed it most," the man said, his tone filled with gratitude. "Her family found out what happened, and they would like to meet you." Sam was taken aback. He had only done what he felt was right. Why would a wealthy, powerful family want to meet someone like him? He hesitated, his mind swirling with questions. But the man gave him an address and asked if he could come by the next day. Despite the uncertainty, Curiosity got the better of Sam, and he found himself agreeing. The next morning, Sam drove to the address given to him. He found himself in front of a grand house, a kind of place he had only seen while driving his taxi through the wealthy neighborhoods. It was beautiful, with an elaborate gate and manicured gardens. Sam took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves as he walked up to the front door. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest. He rang the doorbell, and after a few moments, the large door swung open. He was greeted by an older gentleman, dressed impeccably in a suit. The man smiled warmly at Sam. "Sam, thank you for coming," he said, extending a hand. "My name is George. I'm a close family friend. Please, come in." As Sam stepped inside, he couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. Everything about the house spoke of wealth and luxury, the kind of life that was worlds away from his own. He had no idea what to expect, but he knew that this meeting was going to be unlike anything he had ever experienced before. George led Sam into a large, elegantly decorated sitting room. The room was filled with tasteful artwork, luxurious furniture, and the warmth of a crackling fireplace. Sitting on one of the couches was the woman Sam had helped the night before. She looked much different now. Her face was composed, and the weariness that had weighed her down seemed to have lifted. As Sam entered, she stood up, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Sam, I don't know how to thank you," she began, her voice soft but sincere. "Last night, I was at my lowest point. I felt like I had lost everything, and I didn't know what to do. You didn't ask for anything, you just helped me. People like you are rare, and I want you to know how much it meant to me." Sam shifted, feeling a bit uncomfortable with all the attention. He was not used to being praised for something he saw as simply the right thing to do. Before he could say anything, George stepped in. "This family has been through a lot," George said, his voice filled with emotion. "We've seen our share of hardship, and it's people like you, Sam, who remind us that goodness still exists in this world. You helped her without expecting anything in return, and for that, we are deeply grateful." George paused for a moment, then continued. "The family you helped is not just wealthy, they are also deeply committed to making a difference. They own several successful businesses in the city, and they believe in giving back, especially to those who show genuine kindness. After hearing what you did, they decided they wanted to help you in return." Sam listened, his heart pounding as George spoke. He could hardly believe what he was hearing. George smiled and went on. "They want to offer you a life-changing opportunity, Sam. They want to provide you with enough financial support to pay off all your debts and give you a fresh start. And beyond that, they want to offer you a stable job within one of their companies, something that will allow you to build a secure future for yourself and your family." Sam's eyes widened, his mind racing. He had spent years working himself to the bone, struggling just to keep his head above water. And now, because of a single act of kindness, everything was about to change. He felt a surge of emotions, gratitude, disbelief, and hope. This was more than he had ever dreamed possible, and it was all because he had chosen to help someone in need. Sam was speechless. It was as if time had stopped, and he found himself trying to process everything George had just said. He had spent years working long hours, barely scraping by, and now, in a single moment, his entire life was being transformed. He had never imagined that a small act of kindness could lead to something so significant, something that could change his fate entirely. The woman stood up and walked toward him, her eyes filled with warmth. She took his hand in hers and looked him straight in the eyes. "You gave me hope when I needed it the most," she said softly. "You stopped when no one else would, and you showed me compassion when I was at my lowest. This is our way of saying thank you." Sam could feel the sincerity in her words, and it moved him deeply. He nodded, his voice caught in his throat. I don't know what to say," he managed, his eyes misting up. George smiled, placing a hand on Sam's shoulder. "Just say yes, Sam. Let us help you the way you helped her." With a heart full of gratitude, Sam accepted their generous offer. Overwhelmed, he realized that sometimes the smallest actions, those that come from the purest part of the heart, can create ripples that turn into life-changing waves. Not only had he helped someone else, but in return, his own life was now full of hope and possibility. The following days were a whirlwind. Sam began his new job at one of the family's companies. It was challenging at first. He had to learn a lot of new things, and the work was demanding. But for the first time in years, he felt excited about what lay ahead. He felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment that he hadn't known in a long time. Each morning, Sam woke up with renewed energy, ready to take on whatever challenges came his way. The financial worries that had always weighed heavily on his shoulders began to fade, replaced by a sense of security and a belief that things were finally going to be okay. The kindness he had shown that one cold night had come full circle, proving that a simple, selfless act could truly make all the difference. Not just for someone else, but for oneself as well. More than the money, more than the job, what stayed with Sam most was the sense that his simple act of kindness had made a real, profound difference in someone's life. The woman and her family kept in touch with him, and as time went by, they became more than just business associates. They became friends. They welcomed Sam into their lives, valuing him not just for what he had done that night, but for who he was. They saw his heart, his integrity, and his selflessness, and they appreciated him deeply for it. For Sam, this connection was more precious than any financial reward. He had always believed that the world could be a better place if people chose kindness, but now, he had experienced firsthand just how powerful that belief could be. The friendships he formed, the support he received, and the hope that now filled his life were all born from one simple choice: to help someone in need without expecting anything in return. One evening, as Sam sat at home reflecting on everything that had happened, he realized something important. Life had been tough, and it had tested him in ways he never imagined. But through it all, he had held on to his compassion for others, never letting hardship turn him bitter. And in the end, that compassion had opened doors he never knew existed. It had led him to a new beginning, a brighter future, and lifelong friendships. The ripple effect of kindness is real. It starts small, like a pebble dropped into still water, but it spreads, touching lives in ways that are often unexpected and profound. Sam's story is proof that a single act of kindness can set off a chain reaction that changes not just one life, but many. His story reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference, no matter how small our actions may seem. Thank you all for listening to this incredible story. If it touched your heart, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done in Sam's situation? Do you have a story of kindness to share? Let us know in the comments or send us an email. And don't forget to subscribe to Life Story 999 for more uplifting tales like this one.